Aidyn Chronicles, the First Mage. We're going to do a beginner's starters type guide. Really, though, it's going to be a brief synopsis of my personal opinions on the entire game overall as a whole. Just the first few acts, so we're not going to be um, giving away too much information, but just to help whoever, new and old people alike, playing the game. Lots of stuff like such as things I wish I would have known before I had started. I'm going to be using the 8 megabit RAM booster mode with the standard gray/black cartridge. I am using a Project 64 emulator, and I will in fact be using quite a few different features from that as well, including frame limiter for to slow down and speed stuff up, as well as using and abusing save states. If you guys don't want to use that, don't have to do it, but like super helpful in the game, especially right here at the beginning for me. Don't have to sit there and watch that cutscene again for the how manyth time. Um, a lot of treasure chests do have loot pools, including this one first right here. So I'm going to hit save next to it. And there you go. That's actually the best. You can get anywhere between 1 to 4 potions from this. So there you go, I reloaded. Just showing you that. As far as the version again of the game, we're playing, I believe this is the gray cartridge version. If you come down here to your rename menu, there's quite a few things you could put in here. But for today's sake, I don't want to spoil anything else for you. February 2nd, 2001. Let's check our guide here. 2001. Yeah, so that's going to be the US 1.0 version. That would be your gray cartridge. The 1.1 would be your black cartridge. And then also, we are going to be utilizing the Prima official strategy guide for Aidyn Chronicles, the First Mage, which definitely is not available for free to download online somewhere. Definitely not. And as far as how far we're going to get into it, I want to take you guys right to about Act 2-ish area range. We'll go right about here because I don't want to spoil too much into the game. Just wanted to get you guys started and everything. So without further ado, we're just going to jump right on into it. So after you get poisoned by the goblins and we get out of our dream sequence speaking with Oriana the Hutt, we're going to be on our way to Gwernia, the first town. And we don't want to forget to stop by Yourwood here as you follow the little light path because there are a couple items we really want to get. There's some equipment, there's some gold, all that good stuff. But the main thing I'm really after, it's pretty much, in my opinion, what someone's going to be using, at least damn near till end game, unless you're maxed out 10 thief, even then, is the rope. You definitely want that. It's going to help you open up some treasure chests early on in the game, as well as later on in the game. And plus, once we go over skills, it's just so good. It's so good when we talk about skills. Thief and Warrior are two of my most valued skills that I like to that everyone should learn. Spell battery, we'll talk about that. I mean, it's supposed to, it's kind of janky like a lot of things in this game, but what it's supposed to do is, from my understanding, spell battery will allow you to cast spells, and instead of using up your stamina, your total from your total hit points, it'll use the spell battery instead, which can or can't be recharged. It's really confusing to me at least, and I don't even bother with it, but hey, it's an item to grab. So let's keep making our way down to Gwernia. We just made it to Castle Gwernia. There's some stuff in a couple of the buildings into the town that you can definitely check out. But I just made it straight for the castle, essentially. So we're going to start making up our party with Aberkan, Rita, Brenna, and or Godric. Just starting out, especially being a beginner, if you want to have the easiest time in the world, definitely add Aberkan. All you have to do is walk up to him and mash the talk button. But I mean, if you're a new person, definitely, I would definitely, read all the dialogue and everything. Rita's pretty awesome. We'll talk about her later. But I'm gonna go grab Godric. Brenna is great. You have to take Brenna regardless. So, but one key thing is don't take her now inside of the castle. Make it to where she joins after you get your other two party members outside. That way, with a couple of dialogued options we're going to choose, she will give us some extra goodies. And speaking of goodies inside of the castle, there are quite a few. It is very helpful to get Brenna first, though, with the rope that we talked about, because some of the treasures I'll show you they require you to have a little bit higher thief than what she starts out with. So when you first enter the laboratory here with Godric, it doesn't matter essentially what you talk to him about, his dialogue things. Just say maybe you'll come back later, because you need it to change. So talk to him once, walk out, come back in the room, and then he'll give you the prompts to have him join. Make sure I see. I'm being sent on a quest. Will you join me? Let's see. I think I better leave the green stuff left behind. There you go. So now he joined us. And while we're in the Mage's Wizard Tower here, what we're also going to do is go talk to our wizard over here, Master Bowden, because we want to grab Trahern's sword, which is a really good little weapon. Let me see if I remember what dialogue it is. Have any advice? Any experiments lately? Is what we want to say. He's talking about a sword. Make sure you choose yes, I would want the room key. Then after that, essentially, just whatever you want. Whoever. Just to get him to stop talking. There we go. Okay. But again, if first time player, you should read all the dialogue. So because he gave us the key, that'll give us our journal prompt. We're going to go back, to the laboratory. The room on the left here was closed. Now it is open. Make sure you loot both boxes over here, get some gemstones. But the main thing we came down here for is Trahern's sword. Very nice sword, 55 base hit with 3 damage, 15 strength requirement. It is excellent, excellent to start out with. So, now that we got those two, what we're going to do, before we actually first leave the castle initially, before coming back with Brenna in our party, is we're going to go talk to Master Trahern, because he will actually give us a couple little more items depending on who you choose in your party. He'll give you some goodies, which he is right there. Let's see, can I speak to you? Wait to hear what I've been. Talk to him about your story, where you've been, blah, blah, blah. He'll talk to you about some stuff. But the main thing is, the blade, the sword has been after, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about his sword. Godric, yes, and he'll talk about, So there you go. So he'll give us a couple extra goodies too. Let me see actually what it was, because I had Godric and Abracan. I think he gave us a shield, the dagger for him, or the javelin. I'm not sure. But it's just more stuff we can sell for later to make potions with Godric, which I'll explain more why here in a second. So now we're leaving. Before we walk back in, I'm going to hit save real quick so I make sure I choose the right options. So Aileron, tell her you should go back. Or not you should go back. Whoops. Why we're using save states, because even I forgot. Okay, so did you forget something? It's too dangerous, you're a good thief, but... Oh, thanks. Armor. Alright, give it to me. And she'll give you armor. The main thing is she gave us the axe. Is very, very nice to start out with. Let me take the rope off Aileron to give it to Brenna. But the battle axe is very nice. It's 65 base hit with 3 damage. It's hafted, only 14 strength requirement, which Aileron starts out with 15, I believe. So he can use it right away. Base hit goes anywhere as low as I think 10 or 20, up to 100, which just means your chance of hit rate, which even if it's at 100, it's not guaranteed. We'll talk about that when we get more to combat. And then damage goes anywhere between 1 to 7 is the highest weapon in the game. There's only one, it has a really low base hit rate, but from 1 to 7. So having a weapon at 3 with 65 base hit at the beginning of the game is very nice. But since Gwernia only has 8 strength, in my opinion, one of her best weapon you can buy from the shop here in town in Gwernia is the Tonto at 70 and 1 damage, just for now. So we got her. We can immediately, before we even go back into town and set off on our quest, what I wanted to show is the reason why you want to come back in here is because there's a lot of chests, and every time you open up a treasure chest, it's going to drain her stamina to do so. A lot of skills do, even casting spells. But the reason why we have the rope is because she's a Thief 3 with +2 on. I'll take it off just to show you as demonstration. It says the lock is a little beyond her power, or capability here. So throw on the rope, open up the chest, and there you go, we get some stealth potions and a tower shield. And so just go through all these, loot all the different treasures. Pretty much, there is a lot of other treasures in the castle. I think there's like one scroll for magic. There's a bunch of little treasure chests and stuff. But there's not a whole lot other than that before we start setting off on our quest. So go ahead and do your own explorations other than that. Actually, one more thing, or a couple more things I forgot to mention. Before we leave the castle. Another chest we need to use the rope for, so Brenna can open that up. Where we got Godric and the Traherne sword. There is a couple more little loot boxes you can get right now, like over here. But the 2 treasure crates down here are definitely beyond Brenna's capability. These ones, I believe it's 8, or I think actually it's 10. You need to have total thief. So 6 or 8 total thief with the rope would give you 8 to 10 total thief to open these. Gives you a very nice end game weapon and a couple other really nice goodies. So just FYI, if you wanted to grind for her thief right at the beginning of the game, you can. I've done that before. And also, or come back later, but also come down here to this teleporter and make sure you hit the interact button a couple times on it so it'll open up our gateway so we can teleport back and forth between the first 2 towns. Will be very, very helpful. Because you will be coming back here a couple times throughout the game. So it'll be from here to Erromon. And then about your characters, depending on who you choose, again, Brenna will never leave the party, even when you have other options. She'll always stay with you all the way till the end of the game, unless she dies inside of combat. If you didn't choose Godric, you'll be able to get him in Talwalk. That's the 3rd town after you finish up in Erromon. So you can get him. And then Rita... excuse me. Also, Talwalk is also where you can get Abrakan as well as Godric, if you didn't choose either of them to be in your party. When it comes to Rita, after you go from Gwernia to Erromon to Talwalk, you'll see her in Port Said, but eventually you'll be able to recruit her again when you go to Terminer. So if you really, really wanted to have her or try her out again and you didn't get her until then, you're about at the halfway point, I would say, or damn near about, if you didn't get her at that point. But yeah. So, okay. Moving on outside of the castle. So the first place we're going to head to is the inn here. This is our first little side quest we can do. The innkeeper here is having some problems with an infestation down below. What's wrong with the cellar? Suppose I get rid of them. Ah, okay, so he'll give us some money or experience. Don't worry, I'll take care of them. So, the thing with this is there's 2 encounters down here. There's these bats right here, which generally I think you'll get anywhere between 1 to 3 of them, I do believe. And it's a quick way to get just a little bit of experience points. And with Abrakan, he's level 8 versus everyone else is 2, 1, 2. Abrakan is definitely a very helpful character, especially he's got 4 sword, 4 warrior. So, very easy spot you can sit here and grind bats for, because as long as you don't go through this crack in the wall yet to go to the other side, then you can just continuously kill bats over and over and over again as long as you walk out of the inn, walk back in, it'll respawn. So grind to your heart's content. I would say get at least a couple thousand EXP for this, just because we want to buy a couple skills for all of our guys real quick before we head out of town, which I'll explain why in the next scene. So we grinded, we got about 2,000 experience and some gold for all of our guys. We're going to talk about items, stats, skills, and how to make some money since we got Godric in our party early on. First thing we're going to do, there are a lot of good options here as far as starting equipment. So the first thing you'll see is I'll talk about armor, I think, and shields. So the smaller shields lower your dex less amounts. -2 versus -3 for the larger, -4 for the kite shield, and then the tower is the worst defender we have at 6. However, they offer more protection and more defense. I might have it backwards, but defense is if you get hit, the less damage you take. Protection is the chance of you, less likely of the chance of you getting hit. I do believe, or I might have those backwards actually. I think I do. Protection is if you get hit, you'll take less damage, and then defense is you actually blocking the damage. So, but for me, I would choose to take less hit in dexterity. So I always get bucklers, or there's other shields that are smaller, I think heater shields, that do not reduce dexterity at all. That's just me, my personal opinion. Some people may disagree with me. That's completely fine. But that's just how I deal with it. Same thing with armor. Like leather was 2, -1 dex versus cloth, which is 1 + 5 stealth, but no dex. Versus like Abrakan's 2, I believe is what he's wearing on too. So there's that. There are some good, we can make our own healing potions with Godric again. I would say maybe like the mace is decent at 55 base with 3. But again, we have that axe that we got, so we don't need that. The spear is 50 is a good base too. 3 damage if you want to deal with pole. The 70 hit with the 1 damage for Tonto is good for Godric and Brenna since they're so low at the beginning of the game. Strength-wise, just starting out, which I'll show you again how to fix that. I don't really need, I get rid of my stealth potions. Don't need them to begin with. A lot of this stuff that we were given, actually, I'm just going to use to get as much money as possible for our money making method here real quick. Same thing with the map. It unlocks some parts of the map. I mean, you don't need that, really. So, but that's our money. So our skills now, looking at this, Godric starts out with 3. So we don't need anyone to do that. If not, you can make somebody else it. Alchemy is extremely important, I think, especially at the beginning of the game. I definitely always like taking Godric to have an easier time. He can make a lot of different potions, which we're going to get into. So that's great. Diplomat can take it or leave it. People are nicer and give you more information. Honestly, I find it more funnier when I don't have anybody with Diplomat and people are kind of mean and rude to me. I think it's more funnier and entertaining. Plus, the information they do give kind of isn't that helpful. Maybe some may again disagree. This is just my opinion. Healer is a good option too, so you can actually heal in combat, use lay on hands and all that good stuff. It's not bad, but not great because we can make our own cure, restore, health potions and stuff like that too. So take it or leave it. It's up to you. Lore Master, kind of it works but doesn't. Um, I've seen forum posts say that it it works, but then others say that oh no, all the scrolls are just unlocked to the maximum where you can read a book and it just shows you all the chapters. But it's supposed to. The higher lore master gives you more lore and you can get more background into the game. I don't bother with it anymore. Mechanic, you can make some armors and whatnot and shields. Some of them are kind of worth it. There's one that you can make later on to resist fire spells a little bit more, but other than that, not really worth it. The only thing you would want mechanic for is good paired with your thief is the fact that when you're disabling treasure chests or doors, they don't explode in your face. So that's nice to have. Merchant, again, especially because we're using Godric, trying to haggle for better prices isn't necessarily needed. Um, doesn't matter if we're getting ripped off maybe a little bit or getting a good deal because we're going to make a bunch of money real quick. Ranger, I don't even bother with, honestly. The extra herbs, gem spice stuff, it's not worth it to me. We can buy them from shops. And the extra camouflage when you're camping at a location out in the wild somewhere, all you got to do, save your game and camp. If you get ambushed because you're trying to heal your party, then reset your game or reload the game with your save state, however, and move a little bit and do it again. And that's all you do, save and reload. You don't need to not worry about getting ambushed. Stealth, we can make stealth potions, and there's armor that gives us higher stealth, like the cloth armor gives us +5 to stealth at the beginning of the game. If you were trying to sneak past an encounter that's too difficult for you and you want to come back later. Um, so, I mean, you can learn it, put 1 point into it, but I personally don't bother with it too much. Thief, one of the most important skills in the game, in my opinion. Anybody who can learn Thief, have them learn Thief. At least 1 point into it, because the higher crit chance and doing damage from behind is it's super helpful, very important in combat. Um, I can't stress enough. Learn Thief. Anybody who can learn Thief, do it. Troubadour, you can have slower party members. Like, I'll teach it to Godric, I think, just because his dex is really low and I actually usually get rid of him um, by the time we get to the second town. But he's very quirky, he's kooky. I love his goofy, kooky type attitude and his dialogue and everything. But I usually give him Troubadour so you can stand in the back, raise your party's hit chance, success rate higher you have, the better. It's required actually for Aileron in 2 points of the game, I believe. When you can get past it, though, I do believe. But it's good to have. Warrior is the number 1 big thing. Like for Brenna, especially for her, starting out, she doesn't know it. Anybody who can learn Warrior, teach them Warrior. Anyone who can learn Thief, learn Thief. Warrior is going to up your damage, crit, defense, all that good stuff as far as hand-to-hand combat. Um, I just learn Warrior. I can't say enough about it. In my experience, yeah, teach Warrior, teach Thief. Wizard's another good one too. If people can learn Wizard, some people can't. I'll show you how you can tell which school they're in. So we'll teach Brenna Wizard. Um, some people, again, look and see who can learn Hafted, like Abrakan can learn Hafted, but his sword's already at 4, so it's probably best to equip him with the sword weapon, at least at the beginning of the game. Shield, same thing. Some characters can or can't learn shield weapons altogether. There is, not to spoil anything, but there are some really good weapons in the sword. Specifically, there's one at the end of the game, and hafted weapons. that are more end game that are really powerful. There are some other powerful, really good weapons in the other categories, but again, play with what you want. If you want to do bow, missile from afar, we'll talk about stats here in a second too. But that's just my opinion on all the different skills. Since we taught Brenna Wizard, you can see here at the top left, this is their aspect. You're either solar or you're lunar, which means you'll have more of an overall success chance of dealing more damage, success in whatever you're casting or throwing or doing inside of a combat if it's either daytime or nighttime. There are nights that are full half lunar nights, so you'll do even more, have more of a success, that character will, when they're doing actions in combat during those days. Godric's the only one at the beginning of the game that's going to be lunar. Everybody else is solar. So if you're fighting something, make sure you're fighting them as during the daytime. And then on the right side is their School of Magic. This is Elemental, as well as Brenna. We taught her Elemental. Alaron's the only one that has the skull that can learn any School of Magic. And then Abrakan's one of the characters that can't learn any magic. So if we go over to spells, we have Dragon Flames. That's one, every spell is going to have different requirements. This one requires gemstones to cast, and it's going to eat up some of your stamina. So just check that out. Make sure you're watching to see what the requirements are for those. I taught Alaron Strength early on at Oriana the Huts. Teaches you some spells you can learn too. The shields are extremely helpful. Same strength is a good one at the beginning too. I'm going to show you a little trick with that one later. But that's as far as that goes. Stats, so the big thing is intelligence. I can't say anything else really more than what it says here. Raise your intelligence, you're going to need it to cast spells. You're going to need higher intelligence and higher wizard ranks for certain spells. Um, Willpower is one of the big factors in regards to you getting hit or defending against, yeah, a spell, as well as your resistances and time of day. There's all kinds of different things we'll talk about when we get to combat. Dexterity is one of the, if not the most important stat, in my opinion, for any character, ranged, melee, wizard, whatever, because the more turns you get and the less turns somebody else gets, the more chances you have to win, in my opinion. And you have better chances of dodging, hitting. Uh, Overall, just everybody should have a max of their 30 dex is the maximum. Try and max out the dex. Endurance, your overall physical, yeah, your health, uh, more health, less chance, less longer it takes for you to die. Strength, more damage. You can wield certain weapons. Again, we'll show a trick for that soon. But that maxes out at 30 also. So if you're melee especially, definitely want to max that out. And stamina is used to go towards your total hit points, but it'll get deducted when you do things like cast spells and use other skills like opening up locked treasure chests and stuff like we saw with Brenna. And we talked about skills, spells, so let's move on right along since we're in the same little segment area to our guy over here, the next town over. It looks a little foggy, rainy today outside. Well, let's talk about this alchemist. So with this, at level 3, you'll unlock more potions the higher you get, but we're going to be focusing on the restore potion. The restore potion is the biggest thing. It requires 2 gemstones, 2 spices, and an alchemist rank of 3. So we want to get a bunch of gemstones and a bunch of spices to make them. And also you can make strength, dexterity, and defense potions, which are going to be extremely useful um, in combat situations, especially when we get to bosses scenarios and stuff like that. And again, we can make strength potions. There's all kinds of other different ones. You can throw stuff at enemies like fire flasks and some other ones you'll get later, including cure and health potions we can make, which are just extremely useful to have a bunch of in a pinch inside of a combat situation if we can't, well, we're not walking around and we could just camp freely. Um, Extremely, extremely useful. So you do have a chance when you make these to either succeed or fail. So there you go. We made one, we failed at one. So what we're gonna do is with this guy, he sells all the different herbs. We have our gemstones and we have our spices, right? We want to get a bunch of these. I'm actually gonna max out all of these. Just to show you a quick demonstration, I'll just do 60 of everything just so I have them all, even though we only needed the two. Or 70, I can't count. Okay, so if you look at what we can sell these for is 1,125 with the raw ingredients. I mean, 27, 7, and 82 things. It's you can make a lot of money even if you fail at making the two of them. Um, again, we just needed the gemstones and the spice. So the herbs at 7 aren't needed. So the gemstones and the spice are a bit more expensive, but still, you can make fails. Oh no, not my day. But even if you're failing a whole bunch, I mean, you're still going to be able to make a bunch of money off of doing this right at the beginning is very, very helpful. I should have actually seen how much money I had. I'll have to go back and look. You guys tell me. But this is the #1 way at the beginning of the game to make quick money with Godric in your party. Do this over and over again. Don't have the right ingredients. So let's go back here again where we're at. So we had 17, we have 19 at 1,125. Now we have over 20,000, $22,000 dollars. So let's just do 20 for simplicity. We had 22,000. Now we're at 21,500, right? Let's go here. I know I said I was trying to make this video quick, but this one's important. The money, getting a lot of money at the beginning of the game, especially once we get to the second town, is going to be really important because there's so many different items that we're going to want to get once we get there. So, all right, so we had 21,500, right? Is where we're at now. We sell our potions. Now we're at 30,000. So you guys do the math on that real quick, and that's how we're going to make a bunch of money. I personally would recommend getting around 150 to 200,000. That may sound like a lot, but wait till we get to the second town. You'll see why and how much everything costs to get our guys decked out and have a really easy, smooth time moving forward with our gameplay. Actually, before we leave town, I was going to say if we were to pick Rita in our party, she actually, yeah, she's only level 3, yes, but she can become an alchemist. She can learn shield, which is very useful, being an upfront warrior. Which, speaking of warrior, she can learn warrior, as well as being a wizard, and she can also learn thief. So with those 3 skills, warrior, thief, and shield, she can be a pretty powerful battle mage once you level her up pretty high up there. She can also learn hafted if you want her to use axes. No missiles, and but yeah, she can. She already has sword and then the pole, so she can be a pretty nice asset to the team. Yeah, not the greatest of stats, but I mean her dex is 20 versus like Alaron's at 15, so she's not terrible. And again, leveled up, she could be pretty mean. Uh, so always double check and see what character can use what and where, um, or when what they can use. Because if you were to just walk out of town without knowing these, with Rita just being a wizard, I mean, having her up front without thief and warrior and shield, yeah, it's a game changer. That's all I got to say. Definitely experiment anytime you get any new character, including Beacon. can learn Thief once we get up to the next town. I would say definitely worth going back using our little teleporter trick to go get him to learn Thief. So he can do more damage to enemies from behind versus like Abrakan who can't learn Thief. This is her school of magic. Has a lot of really good spells in it. I don't want to spoil too much because some of them in the game are kind of game breaking. Some of them are fun where they can make you be teleported around, but every school of magic has its own ups and downs. But again, Rita's a great solid choice, but regardless of who you choose, Rita, Abrakan, Godric, Brenna has to come with you with Alaron on his quest. All really good solid options. It just depends on what you want to do, but with this team right here, since we don't have Godric, it's going to be a lot harder to make money. We're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. So right, it's a little late out / early morning, I think, at our nice little happy camp that we're at, or not so happy for certain people. But I got a sword from here, and I wanted to talk to you guys about strength requirements. At 20, Abrakan is using a 15 strength requirement Traherne sword. So if I want to equip this wonderful nice 25 strength chaos sword, I can't do it. It says I can't. I don't have, I meet the minimum requirements. I need 5 more strength. But with the power of either using a combination in combat with strength, which will give you 2 ranks per rank, so at 10 strength spell would give you that much more strength, on top of a strength potion we can use, which I'm just using this out of combat, which you can use for several different potions. I'll show you that. Now he has 30 strength, and because of that I can equip my sword, my chaos sword. However, now you can use this in combat. Your strength will stay plus 10 for one battle, and then it'll disappear. The sword will stay on. However, though, if you go to save over something, and then say you leave and come back later, but then I want to reload the game, it's going to crash. It won't let me. It'll corrupt the save. So, if you're going to do this, where I'm at right now, then make sure you and you are gonna want to save the game. Unless you're using save states on the emulator, make sure that you unequip the item before resaving the game. But this way, early on, even like Brenna, she only has 10 strength with her Tonto. I want to get her to wear something else like this longsword at 45 and 3 versus 70 and 1 would be much nicer. So now she's got her longsword. So, just wanted to show you that. Other items that can be used outside of combat. We could do strength, stealth. Let's do dex, defense. You can see it'll give you 10 dex, 10 strength. Ups my stealth on top of, I believe actually it was at plus 8, but I think because his cloth armor is plus 5, so it only gives you 3 then to his stealth. But yeah, so use that to your advantage. Now that we're heading back to Oriana the Hutt's place, make sure you go in there and talk to her. She'll give you a letter and a scroll for a strength spell, which is nice. This guard will tell you which way to go. There is a horde of goblins right here, but I wanted to show this to you real quick because there is a mob of wolves right here that is a really good grinding spot if you guys want to get some experience points before you start heading off to the second town. There can be anywhere from 6 to like 8 or 10, I think, of these total wolves. And all you have to do is after you kill them, you would run back to make them respawn. I would say a safe bet, you could try and see, but I think it's about this tree you would turn to and then come back and they would respawn. So if you feel like grinding a little bit before heading there, you're about, a little over halfway there as is. but this is the best spot in my opinion, right before you reach the second town. So we made it to Erromon, second town in the game. We have a lot to do. There's shops all over the place, in caves, treasure chests, but what I already did is I already went and I grabbed my equipment. First thing you want to do for sure is grab Beacon here, talk to him at his shop in the middle. Then he'll go to the inn, and you can either trade out Beacon, I can't talk, Abracan or Godric for Beacon. If you want him, Rita and Brenna will not leave unless one of them, for this instance, Brenna had an accident in my playthrough. So definitely go through all these shops, especially up there, those two vendors, and then the armor that I got from this shop right that we're passing. But what I wanted to do is show you where to go to get to this special chest that has either a wizard hat or a witch's ring. And it all is just a random luck chance of it actually happening. This is like the bane chest of speedrunners, because this you need to at least get one or the other. I believe it's the witch's ring that they have to get, which the current real world record is down to like 3.5 hours, I do believe, last time I checked. But I was hoping I could do it for you guys on camera. If you're not, imagine having to do this when you're loading and having to save and reload every time. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle. There you go. There's the witch's ring. So, Witch's Ring gives you Wizard 2. The Wizard Hat gives you +1 to being a wizard. But that's where that is. It looks just like a regular chest, too. That's the biggest thing, is you don't know. You can look them up, but again, I just wanted to make you aware of at least one. And then also inside of here, in the back of the caves, what I wanted to do, those are the two vendors there, is show you guys where the portal is. If you come on over here, second from the back, is you want to touch this portal, because this is where the bottom of Gwernia Castle is at. So we're right back home where we were before. And then as far as equipment goes now, again, we're using the strength potions and everything again. So I gave guys shielding. We won our Starlight shield. Mirari cloak. Basically, this is going to be your cloak pretty much almost for the entire game. Jundar gloves. You can get gauntlets that give you +2 to protection. I choose 1 extra damage, because again, 6, 7 is the highest damaging weapons you're going to get, plus this will add an extra damage. Is very helpful. Boots of Adamant, 2+ protection. Either the Mercenary belt is a good one, unless we have a solar character. Dragon Leather, again, my big thing is all about not losing dex. So I get 6 to protection and 10 to stealth. Don't even need stealth potions at this point. For Aileron, again, you can give him the Starlight or the Light. The Great Axe, 6, 65, and 4 is great. I don't know how he... Again, this game is janky, so now I have 2 cloaks on at once, apparently. But the Belt of Life, for solar aspect characters only, gives you 1 to protection, but you get cheat death, which gives you the next hit that was going to kill you. You get to survive with a health or 2, so you're not dead. But the biggest thing is the necromancy resistance, which is going to help us when we get up to the first boss. And again, I'm still using the same buckler, because, yeah. Chaos shield for him. Same thing for these guys. Beacon the poleaxe is 45 and 6 damage. So he's at 7 damage with the gauntlet, so helpful there. But this is just my setup. You guys can go ahead and get whatever you want to do. Again, I'd explore all the shops, but I gave Beacon the rope because he can learn Thief. So Thief of 3, Warrior 5. He's doing pretty good. He only has 18 dex, but he's got it up. He can get that up there more. And he can do some damage. He can do some pretty good damage. So this is my team. So without further ado, I think we should start testing some combat. So we're leaving Erromon, going up to the mountains to fight our first boss fight in the game. But I think these ogres would be the best option for us to get some experience and go over some combat here. But I don't want to get that many of them. Yeah, 4 is perfect. Let's see where my guys are here. Because first and foremost, what I want to do is get them buffed up with our protection. For sure, one of my first things I always like to do is get shields going up. Aileron's kind of far away, so I'm not sure if I can hit him yet. So I'm actually going to wait. As you can see here, I can only hit 3 out of the 4 of us since Aileron's too far for this wand starlight shield. Let's see if he can do it once he moves closer. Nope, he doesn't have it. But at least now he's closer. Perfect. I think he does. Yep. So then this way, because wands have 10 charges, so we're not having to deal with the glitchy rechargingness of them, or buying more wands, having to cast the spell multiple times in the actual fight itself. This will give us some much needed added protection. You can stack the shield, which is their starlight shield, spirit shield, air shield, which is definitely going to be needed fighting these ogres, because these guys are pretty tough. They hit hard with that weapon that they have, which our guys are at level 4, 4, 5, and 8. And our ogres, if we move over to our handy dandy user guide, our Prima strategy guide, they're 8 to 10. And 2 of our team members are solar, 2 of them are lunar. So I'm actually going to leave. It's fine fighting them either at night or during the day, but you would want to do the opposite of whatever aspect they are to increase your chance and lower theirs. School of Magic, not really a worry here, at least for this fight, because they don't cast any spells on us, and they don't have any secondary weapons that they're going to be throwing at us. We just got to worry about those hard-hitting giant axes. So let's just go from that, and we'll come back. I think I'll explain more about the different enemy strategies, but for this one, just to keep it simple to start out with, is a lot of things I can't stress enough go in under the hood of this game. Like, for example, we're at range right now with my team versus theirs. We're buffed up with potions, but we're at range, and I want to use a spell with Godric. And he comes ready with standard with the Dragon Flame. So I have to stand in range to actually hit them with it. His level is going to be calculated into this hit, if it's going to be successful or not. His aspect ratio is going to be added into a factor into this. Is an important variable since it's daytime, he's night, so he's not going to get any bonus from that. His intelligence level, as well his wizard, which he has 2 with +2 from the witch's ring, and then the actual spell itself, which is only rank 2, which is why the range isn't the greatest either, is going to come into a factor with it. So that's why I have to move a little bit more forward with him to actually be able to hit one of these ogres here. And if you can hit multiples, you can use your directional pad to choose one or the other. Another thing is not only because he's lunar, it's solar, but the weather. Since it's a clear, sunny day, the flame will actually have a better chance of actually being cast versus if it was rainy or foggy or something like that. So let me see what kind of hits I can get off with this. That one failed, which it can fail or it can be resisted. So there's another failure. There's a hit. Okay, 13. Let's see if we can go again. Nope. 13. 11. There you go. So a lot of factors fall into that. Also, for the enemies themselves, now, I didn't even say them. I know they have lower intelligence level. I don't know about their willpower, but their level is probably, I mean, Godric's 4. So that's another thing. Since he's 4 and they're 8 to 10 level, they're higher level, but even with the lower willpower, we were still able to cast it when I tried 4 attempts, 2 out of 2 actually hit. And so, yeah, a lot of different factors. let's move forward a little bit, have them come forward to us, because I want them to hit us. I actually want to show you guys as far as how hit ranks regarding from behind. And let me see if I can get... Okay, so he moved forward there. With all of our extra added protection and everything, I want to show you now. Beacon or Abercan doesn't have Thief on him, correct? But I'm able to get a clear shot from behind, which is what you want to do to increase your chance of hitting. But what's going to come into factor here is Abercan's level 8. They're level 8 or level 10, so they could be higher than him. His weapon's base hit chance is only 20. The damage is 5, and it could cast poison on him. But we do have an extra added glove, so that's a +1 to damage. His physical strength's going to come into play here, about how much damage. The dexterity is going to come into play. His warrior stat, his sword skill stat is going to come into play. And if he had Thief for extra added bonus damage from behind is going to come into play. Plus their resistance to the actual damage itself. They're not just level, but their physical defense too, because they have armor and stuff on too. So let's see what we can do here. Critical hit of 47. Let's try again. 28. 28. So 28, 28, 47. 44. So 36. Pretty across the board there what we can get. So let's hit a different ogre now from behind with Erromon. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it, I don't think, but what they're going to be hitting us with is giant axes, which have low base hit at 30, but a damage of 6. So if they hit us, they'll do some... They should, in theory, be able to do some decent damage to us compared to other enemies in the game, but we're buffed up with defense potions, dex, strength, all that good stuff, and as well as all of our gear. So with Erromon, though, being able to be right behind him, now let's look at him. He has a great axe, so higher hit chance versus Abercan, but his damage is only 4 versus 6 from Abercan. And then he does have his +1 extra damage, lower strength than him too. Same with the dex. But he has the added Thief with the rope of being 3, and the warrior is 3, which is lower than Abercan's as well. Same with the chance for hit for sword at 3. So let's see what Erromon can do from behind hitting this ogre. We got 39, 34, 42. Let's see if we can do a crit or something. No? 31, 36. So I think, yeah, we just hit once in the 40s, right? Was the best we got. 37. So I just wanted to show you a couple hits from that. Oh no, Erromon got hit for 1. Okay. And then Beacon, same thing. He's got Thief 2 and everything, but he's hitting from the front. But he could still hit pretty hard with his weapon because he's got a 5 or 6 weapon 2 on him. But I wanted to talk to you guys about spells now. As far as how far in the range they go. Because scrolls and wands are going to be able to cast a spell at a level 5 middle ranked, whatever it is. Wands have 10 charges, spells is a one-time use, with using it with a scroll, I mean. So let's equip a scroll. Oriana scroll is a strength scroll, and let's do wind, which Erromon knows all those spells as well at ranked 1. His wizard is rank 2, intelligence 18. So I want to show you the difference as far as range and potency. If I were to cast Air Shield, I can only cast so far, where I can only hit 2 of my guys. Versus if I use the scroll, I can hit all of my guys, well, except Beacon. I don't know what he's a little too far away, but it's a much longer range because of that extra added ranking, which even if you don't have the intelligence or wizard rank to use the scroll, you can spell normally, you can still use said scroll, but again, it's only a one-time use and then it's gone. Same thing with wind. which is multi-purpose. I can clear some ailments off of me or do damage to some enemies with it. You can see I can only hit these guys very close to me, versus the actual wind here. I could hit literally everybody I want, anybody I want with it. So there's that aspect. We talked about his flames. So just keep that in mind, yeah, about the wands and the scrolls and everything. But speaking of scrolls now, if we want to, we can finish this fight just by actually damaging these enemies, yes. But I want to see actually get some hits on them so we can see how much damage they can actually do to us, being have all of our potions and armor and all that good stuff. I saw a 2, but there are 4. That was the highest I saw. There are spells in the game that if you lower an enemy stat below to 0 or below, then it'll actually make them unable to actually do anything, and it'll just end the combat altogether. So I saw a 3 or 4 hit damage. 3 or I think 4 was hit to Aileron or Abracan with our current build. So you're going to be fine pretty well physically. But so with this scroll, there's several, but stupidity lowers an enemy's intelligence level, and we don't know what it is even using the guide, what their intelligence is, but we know it's going to be lower than 0, at or below 0, so it's going to basically make them they won't receive any turns if we can hit all of them with it. So let's see. This is just other alternate ways you can actually win fights versus killing them altogether. So we hit all 3 of those guys. Let's see, we need to get one more now. If I use my stupidity scroll here on this last one, nope, it failed. So again, that's a possibility. Let's see. For experimental purposes. Save this. Oops. There we go. So now, once it becomes one of these ogres' turns again, they all have stupidity on them. It's just going to end the fight for us. That's it. We don't even need to finish killing them. That was it. Victory. Pretty cool, right? So look into that as far as alternate methods in regards to fighting enemies. Again, yeah, that's what they were hitting us with, which what the max I saw was a 3 or 4 damage to one of our party members with our shield spell on. But for the ogres, they were just hard hitting physically, which we were able to easily mitigate that problem. But say, for example, we dealt with wolves when we first started behind Oriana's hut, right? Wolves were lunar, so that's why it's good to fight them during the day. We don't have to worry about spells or anything like that. But later on, you're going to be fighting other enemies, such as these hellhounds, for example, which are solar, so maybe you'd want to try and go lunar. Higher level, try and be at or near their level once you get there. But they cast elemental magic, which is what Godric has, the dragon flame. So a way we can counter that is use spells like Verse Elemental that we get where we got the wands and everything in the Erromon cave area of the second town there. That would be extremely helpful, as well as during the weather, try again making it nighttime, and raining would be really ideal. So wet rain would even lower the chance, and then have a high willpower stat to resist those spells. So you can do things like that to just prepare yourself for fights. And then even like we're gonna fight these 2 guys, the Kidorak fight with the hobgoblins and everything. We have other items in the game, such as for our solar characters here, that we got the Belts of Life that resist necromancy spells by 50, which is exactly what the characters, the enemies for the first boss fight cast. They're necromancy, and they cast things like tapped stamina. They're going to cast spirit shield on themselves. and crushing death. So if we can resist those spells, that would be really good to have. So if you have solar characters, and since we had the money from buying and selling those herbs and potions with Godric, definitely want to equip Belts of Life onto our guys before we head up the mountain to fight these guys. So knowing again is half the battle. With the current setup we have right now, other than the spells, I think you should be pretty solid with whatever and ranged attacks before you get up your shields and everything. You should be pretty solid moving forward up into the mountain area here. So good luck to you guys as far as combat goes. If you guys do need any additional help, there is still a nice little strong community around this game. I personally, on my channel, will post content to it every once in a while. I come and go, including shorts, all that good stuff. Just trying to find anything added to the community about the game or whatnot. But also, I was going to say, before YouTube took away the ability for us to see our subscribers over here. Let me go back. So I hope you can see that just about right here in the corner is everybody here I'm subscribed to on my channel. They all make content for the game. So Hallie is in charge of the mod of the game and the Reddit, our record speed runners, lore masters. There's other individuals who do lots of long playthroughs, Ironmans, stuff like that. Let me see who else we got on here. Yeah, more lore masters, my old account. Iron Man, yeah, playthroughs. So if you need any help or want to check out additional content from other people, I'd say definitely check out this list, as well as I have links to a lot of the social medias surrounding the game too, including the Discord, the Reddit, Facebook, and the old game FAQ and NeoSeeker forums as well. All right, so just wrapping things up, guys, at the end of the video before we part ways on this episode. Just wanted to say, for clarification's sake, using save states can cause crashes a lot. You know, I kind of briefly mentioned it, but even if you're not using the F4 frame limiter deal on your emulator or whatnot, with the game the way it is, so just make sure you're saving often, always in game. And maybe even restarting it, especially if you're playing like in the 4 megabit mode, is good for sure to do. Just make sure you unequip any weapons you have that you don't meet the strength for. You should have between 2 to 4 save slots in game on an empty memory card as well, so just keep that in mind. And then clarifying, the stupidity spell doesn't work on all enemies, only those with low intelligence levels. Again, we can't actually tell what their int is from the Prima strategy guide or in game. If I'm correct on that or not, someone please let me know. But it's kind of just, you got to test it out. You guys, the information's out there on social media and all that for the game, but make sure again you're using it on enemies that there's only the last 4 enemies in the battle, either like we did the ogres, there was only 4 ogres, because if you have 4 enemies out and then there's enemies in reserve, you can crash or freeze your game. So just keep that in mind. I'd also recommend, just starting out, make sure you're playing in the 8 megabit full version mode of the game, not the 4 megabit version. There are several differences, including if you're listening in the background right now, this is the soundtrack difference from the entry title song music. That's a bit different from if you're playing with the full 8 megabit mode version. There's also a lot of NPCs and counters later on that aren't in the game to keep simplicity sake, so that they could minimize the RAM usage in the game. So, or not, I mean, you guys do you, but I'd recommend it, just saying, 8 megabit version for sure. Also, if you do use Rita, another good pro for her, if you take her, is Rita knows the versus necromancy spell, which is also extremely helpful if your characters can't use belts of life for the 50% or the 50 reduction. Versus necromancy will help really drastically reduce their chances of hitting you with those necromancy spells for that first fight we spoke about and we looked up on the guide. Let's see what else. I had a couple other notes on here. Don't take, my guide as the gold standard. Utilize others. Check out the help menu. There's a help menu in the game that it gives you some helpful advice as well. But I wouldn't keep anything gold standard, including the gold Prima strategy guides. Kinda janky. Like it's gonna mention a lot of things that's in there that's actually not in the game. Like going up to the Erromon mountains, you can go get the banner of Gwernia if you have beacon in your party. Currently not available, at least not that I have ever been able to get, just as an example. So just do your research or go in blind again. Well, you're not going in blind if you're watching this. But yeah, do your due diligence. Aidyn Chronicles was added to as a category on Twitch, and there are live streamers on there I found posting their content to YouTube as well. So if you want to watch other people other than who I was subscribed to on the channel, on my YouTube channel, you could check out Twitch if that's your thing. Since permadeath is a thing in game, there's really no need to keep your sapphire stones. It's not used to create anything. They're just worth a lot of money. It was going to be a feature in the game that got scrapped, unfortunately, mainly due to time, to revive your characters somehow. But since it's not, there's no need to keep sapphire stones. If you get them through the treasure chests or what have you, however, they're just worth a lot of money, and sell them so you could buy stuff, okay? Enemy drops also are random too, just like the loot pools. Can change after you smack the last enemy if you use save states, and then it goes to the battle victory scene. The enemy drops can change as well, just so you know, just like how treasure boxes and enemy mobs amounts and types can change. So save and reload or save state it, you can see the differences on that. As far as my apologies again for it being longer than I expected it to be. I was hoping to make this guide. It was actually over 2.5, 3 hours, I think, so I got it down a bit from that. But there's so much in this game. There's so much in this game, and I come and I go. I make some content for the game, but even me being a veteran player, I forget things and probably got things wrong, which I would really like any of the older veterans that play this game and watch this video. If you are going to comment on it, please feel free to correct me and everything up to this point, but please don't spoil things too much further past the first time you visit an Erromon, just so if there are new people watching this, you have the opportunity of maybe getting your a brand new experience to the game, which I'm hoping to get once I start playing. I think I'll do a live stream actually of the revamped version of the game that's being made by another one of the fans on the Reddit. I would love to be able to go in blind again to this game, honestly. So that's going to be the closest thing I get. So thank you everybody. Again, sorry it was so long. And yeah, just take care. Till next time. Have a great one, guys. Bye-bye.